Ladies and gentlemen, our referee has called a stop to this contest, declaring the winner by knockout and new MMA show! Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting round of and new MMA show. I'm your host, Michael Hansen, and I do all kinds of things with microphones because I am a ring announcer and cage announcer, and I'm joined this week, as I always am, by my two friends who bring MMA punditry to new heights. Introducing to you first, from New York, he is Mark Priaulx. What's up, man? How you been?
What up? How's it going out there? Mike, are you getting any spring yet in Michigan?
It's poking through a little bit.
Yeah, that's why I was curious. We're getting, like, teases between, like, 12 noon and, like, 3 p.m., and then it's, like, right back to freezing otherwise. I can't fucking wait, man. I'm so sick of this cold.
Speaking of cold, or lack thereof, introducing from Florida, the Sunshine State, he is the Nicaraguan nightmare, Omar Artola. What's the weather in Tampa?
It is a cool 7 degrees. This morning on my way to the gym, it was a brisk 55. Did not care for it. But then I realized it's not 55. 23 and fucking
I would
angry,
love 55.
I was happy. I was happy about it. I don't know how you do it.
Should I intro you guys more? I don't know. It's just one day at a time, bro. I was just going to say, should I introduce you guys more
like
ring announcery? Would that be more on brand?
Yeah, no? It might get wild after a long period of time.
I mean, we're like 85 episodes in. Kind of old. Yeah, you're right. All right.
Yeah, I think it feels like too much. When we have a guest on the show, like we've done with Tommy or whoever our second guest of all time might be, then it makes sense.
All right, well, let's get into this episode, guys. We got quite a bit to talk about. On the heels of UFC 286, we're going to start off, as we always do, with our first segment on the marquee. We're going to talk about all the fights from this past weekend's pay-per-view. We're going to throw a bunch of our fights into the lightning round. We're going to find out who rose and fell in our very own rankings system, and by our very own, I mean Mark's very own rankings system. We're going to find out with Omar what's new in the world of MMA with the segment Inside the MMA Sphere. And then we're going to look ahead to this coming weekend's very nice UFC Fight Night, Vera versus Sandhagen. And then we're going to end with a little bit of trivia. But before we get into any fight talk, gentlemen, let us first thank our audience. If you like what you've been watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Please subscribe to our channel and you will never miss a video. Hit the bell icon, give us a thumbs up and all that stuff. It's free for you and it helps us out a ton. But the way that we love engaging with you guys most is down in the comments below. If you like any of our takes, let us know. And if you have your own takes and you disagree with ours, let us know down in the comments. As always, keep it classy, folks. If you want audio only, hey, we got you there. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, find us on social media. You can find us at @andnew_MMA show in all the places. And with that, let's get into this episode right away. We're only 90 seconds in, and we're going on the marquee. Let's go.
I was just going to say it's the quickest we've ever gotten to the marquee.
Yeah. All right, this week the name on the marquee has got to be Leon Rocky Edwards, who this past weekend, in front of 17,000 strong at the O2 Arena in London at UFC 286, defeated Kamaru Usman by a majority decision. One judge had it 47-47. The other two judges both scored it 48-46 in favor of Edwards. In doing so, he defended, for the first time, his welterweight title, cementing his status as the undisputed welterweight king over Usman. Mark, let me bring you in first. What was your reaction to Leon Edwards winning this third meeting? Very different fight than the first two.
The boy did it, man. He legitimized himself as the welterweight champ. He did it in front of the home country crowd, which was awesome. They were heavy behind him, which was really cool to see. And he earned it. First off, before I get into the fight, Usman walking across the cage in the intros doing his typical thing, which is always wild to me how they allow this, but where he gets all the way across the cage into his opponent's face.
Yeah.
And Leon responding by shooting him with the fingers was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Just the clip of it, the picture of it, all of it, and all the more so since Leon won the fight. But as for the fight, I thought Leon won it clearly. Was it a close fight? Yes. Was it a competitive fight? Yes. Did he blow him away in any of the rounds? No. I mean, last one was pretty clear. But I thought Leon won rounds 1, 2, 4, and 5 of that fight. I even think there's an argument that he could have won 3, which would have made 3 a 9-9 round as opposed to a 10-8 for Usman. But yeah, I scored that fight 48-46. I did give 3 to Usman, so that's a 10-8. And I gave Leon all the rest. And honestly, I understand that round 2 was close. If you want to give round 2 to Usman, it's still a draw, and Leon is still the champ. So I feel like there's a little too much whining going on from maybe some Usman fans on Twitter and things saying robbery. Like, it wasn't. Usman did not win that fight. There is not a scenario where he won that fight. If you want to really push for it, maybe it was a draw. But I had a 48-46 Leon. I think he earned it. And he fought that fight exactly how I hoped he would and how I thought that he could. Like maybe a little less active with the hands than I thought he'd be, but otherwise nailed it. Like you fight Usman, you're always going to have to be backing up a bit and countering. But the backing up in this fight was wholly different than in the first fight. Here he's angling out. He's throwing shots while he's doing it. He's switching stances to change the space. He's stepping back in with his kicks. And all of that is what makes Kamaru think. And making Kamaru think somewhat defensively is what prevents him from being able to do these pressure blitzes that he loves and the constant takedown attempts and all of that. So that was missing in the first fight, and it was here throughout in this fight. And honestly, that's the most tentative I've seen Kamaru. Like, I won't say that he looked bad. He still had his moments, but he was absolutely not as aggressive as we're used to seeing. So you got to wonder how much getting knocked out was playing in his mind, because obviously that's not something that he's dealt with before. And maybe he was a little less willing to engage the way he normally does because he was trying to make sure he didn't get put out cold again. But aside from that, the other key to this fight was how well Leon Edwards got up. He got up every damn time, and that was absolutely not the case in the first fight. So I don't know if that's the elevation, if it's a better camp, if it's just watching tape. It could be a combo of all those things. But in a fight where Usman can't keep Leon on the ground, the pendulum swings. And the kicks of Leon were a big, big story. He could never find the big one like he did it in the last fight, but the kicks, I thought, really guided him to winning most of these rounds. I think they were his top weapon in that fight. And it was a pretty damn perfect fight from Leon. It was maybe a slip down a peg, like I said, for Kamaru for the first time. It kind of felt that way, but it will be really interesting to see where each guy goes from here. And as funny as it sounds, I'm honestly proud of Leon because that's how I thought he could fight Usman. It's kind of how I thought he'd fight him the first time, and to see him do it was pretty cool. So great job from him.
Omar, let's bring you in here. Give us your take. What do you think was the story of the fight as far as Leon Edwards making adjustments in his overall approach and in his stand-up game?
I think Leon looked consistent. I think that was one of the things that we didn't see in their first championship fight together. You know, he was strong in the first round, and then kind of faded 2, 3, and 4. Kind of tried to find his marbles back in 5, and kind of threw that Hail Mary kick that gave us where we're at now. But there wasn't a lot of that back and forth as far as the momentum was concerned. I thought Leon Edwards kind of handily took that fight. Again, just like Mark, I thought the rounds were competitive, but for me, I thought they were pretty clear. I gave him 1, 2, 4, and 5 as well. 3 I gave to Usman. And while I was watching live, I was like, going into 4 and 5, this is really the only rounds that matter. And I thought Leon Edwards won both of those rounds, I think even more emphatically than he won rounds 1 and 2. I thought it was a great performance from Leon. I thought it was an even better performance. it was obviously a better performance, but I think the value of that win, I think was even higher than the first championship fight with the head kick. He caught him. We had a moment, and head pound for pound, headshot dead. We came away with all these great things, but the reality was Leon was losing a good chunk of that fight, if not the entire fight. Sans round one, and so to watch him come in there and really put on a completely different performance, the type of performance, like Mark said, that we all knew. Well, most of us, not Mike, but the ones that me and Mark knew were going to happen.
Shots.
Pow, 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 pow. But yeah, man, the performance was top notch, and again, just like Mark, I was happy for him, man. I was really happy for him, and I think you could see the elation in not only knocking out the pound for pound best at the time, one of the pound for pound best at least at heavyweight or welterweight, but now he really beat him for real in a real 5-round competitive contest. No one was able to put anybody away, so who just fought better? And I did feel like it was Leon Edwards.
Man, my picks sucked this card. I think Gaethje was my only one that I got right.
Yeah.
No.
I think you said you had 3 apart from us, because me and Mark, I think, had the same.
Yeah, I think me and Homer went 4-2, and you went 3-3. It wasn't so bad.
Yeah. The 3 that you were
I got the least
contrary
wrong
on, though. Yeah, you got 2 out of the 3 that
I got
wrong.
Nelson wrong. I got Gunnar wrong.
Yeah, you were 3.
Anyway.
No, you picked Gunnar.
No, I picked Barberena, I thought. Didn't I?
No, you didn't.
Oh, well, good for me.
No. Yeah, my claim to fame on this one, and I remember you made like a shocked face when I said it, is I said I could see it being 49-46 Leon, and it basically was without the point deduction.
Without the
Yeah.
Dude, his reaction, he went on Ariel, and Ariel was talking about the point deduction and all this stuff, and he was like, so you look back at the fight now, and what do you think about that moment there, that fence grab? And he was like, yeah, I grabbed the fence. And he just started laughing about it. It's like there was no doubt about it. 100% grabbed the fence on that one.
That shit was obvious. People were bitching about the nut shots. That shit happens, man. It's not like he was doing it on purpose. They were stepping in. Those things happen. The fence grab was blatant, and he lost the point like he should have lost the point.
Super blatant. Blatant.
Yeah, man. The fence grab was not a good look. What was even a worse look was that when Herb, was trying to get him into the center to take the point, Leon was like, he did the soccer player hands, like, what? He's like, what did I do?
I think he was trying to say that it was like the first grab and that he should have got a warning, and Herb was just like, yes, shut up.
He's like, you've already kicked him in the nuts 3 times.
Yeah.
Enough. Could not be more happy for Leon Edwards, even though I did pick Kamaru. Man, these 2 guys, I could watch these guys fight over and over again. Both of them have incredible records, have been on incredible upswings of their careers. I mean, Leon Edwards, my God. So just real quick, with this trilogy fight, Edwards also notches his very first title defense of the welterweight belt. He is now on a 3-fight win streak since that no contest with Bilal Muhammad back in 2021, which Edwards was on his way to winning. And had he won, he would be on a 12-fight win streak right now. With this title win, his overall record improves to 21-3. And with that, let us talk about what is next for the welterweight king, Leon Edwards. Mark, put on your matchmaker hat for the UFC. Who is next for the belt? Is it Colby? Is it Bilal? Who should it be?
I mean, it's 2 answers, right? If I am putting on my matchmaker hat, as you say, I think it should probably be Bilal. I'm operating in a world where Chimaev is now middleweight, since that's what we've been hearing. So I'm not including him in this conversation. I think it should probably be Bilal. I think the win streak is a lot to ignore. I think him and Leon already have the history of that no contest that you just mentioned. There was some bad blood coming out of that one. Obviously, Bilal's been calling for this fight for a long time. That's where I would go right now. Now, do I think that Colby Covington is the best welterweight who was not in the cage on Saturday night? Yeah, I think I do. But I would just like to see the man win another fight before we go give him a title shot. Switching to the real matchmaking, it sounds as if it is going to be Leon and Colby. That is what Dana said it's going to be. Now, granted, Leon has been pushing back pretty hard, which is going to get interesting. He has basically been saying, I have a right to have a say here as the champion, and I'm not fighting Colby. So who knows how this is going to play out? We'll see. Maybe it will be Leon and Bilal after all. I got to think whoever doesn't fight Leon out of Colby and Bilal probably fights Shavkat at this point. So some form of that, I think, is how this plays out, but I guess we'll see.
Omar, if you had your pick, who would you want to give the next welterweight title shot to?
If I had my pick, it would be Bilal. The shit they're doing to that kid is pretty heinous. I mean, we're at Tony Ferguson territory here with how many fights he's got now that he's not getting a title shot. I think the crazy thing is the wolf tickets Dana White is trying to sell us, talking about how much Colby Covington deserves this fight. What fucking drugs is that man on? He must have gotten involved in the power slap a little too much and gotten hit one too many times. There's no way you're going to sell to who are you selling that to? Maybe to the casuals who don't know who anybody is. But that shit is crazy. Colby Covington, his last win was Jorge Masvidal at the end of his downslope. He's been in fucking court for the last year and a half bitching and moaning that he got his tooth knocked out. Where are we? What are we doing? Why wasn't Bilal the backup there? Like, if we're doing this for numbers, then we're doing this for numbers. But let's not pretend that Colby Covington deserves this title shot, because that's absolute garbage. He hasn't fucking fought anybody in that top 10 division, let alone the top 5.
Frankly, one of you said this, I think, or unless it was a different person I was texting with, but Bilal and Colby should have just fought on this card, and we wouldn't have any of these problems.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, they should have been the fucking co-main.
It's hilarious, though, because Bilal's been calling out Colby for how long now at this point? And then nobody knows where Colby is. We've been talking about that for weeks now, right? Like, where the fuck is Colby? Whenever we're matching people up in the welterweight division, at the top of this division, we're like, oh, I don't know what Colby's doing, but maybe let's match him up with him. I don't know what he's doing, but let's match him up with him. And all of a sudden, this motherfucker pops up in the middle of goddamn London, talking about, hey, I'm here for the backup. What? Yeah. It's crazy.
It would be
the whole thing is crazy.
It would be a great title eliminator fight between the two of them at this point.
Oh,
but
for
both
sure.
of them are trying to just make the argument that they should be fighting for the title themselves, respectively. So,
if we're gonna do numbers, you might as well just fucking give it to Masvidal. You're gonna tell me Masvidal and Leon Edwards don't do more than Leon Covington, because we know that's bullshit.
Oh yeah, Leon and Masvidal with the little tape they can put together in the 3-piece Minnesota is going to do the most buys out of all of it. Granted, Masvidal has to beat Burns for that to even be a possibility, which,
if he does,
is no easy task.
Is no easy task. But if he does beat Burns, you better believe promotionally they're getting that guy right back in.
And Leon wants it. Leon's been saying that for a while. That if Jorge wins, that's what he'd rather do.
That's money for Leon. Leon getting them pay-per-view points now. Yeah. That's money for Leon,
because they can promote the shit out of that fight.
That's easy. That's free promotion. Everything's already done.
Yeah, like 5 years ago.
Yeah. Every interview is basically going to be Leon and Masvidal talking about how they're going to kill each other and how all this and then the other. It'll be like a John Jones DC shit all over again. It'll be great.
Yeah, I think that stylistically, I think that's a good fight.
It's in 2 weeks. So, like, 2 weeks from now, we might have a Masvidal who is inserted into this top of the heap conversation.
Let's go.
Leon should show his ass in Miami.
But, spoiler, I think I'm picking Gilbert Burns.
Sure.
I think a lot of people are, bud.
Okay, let's talk about the former champ now, Kamaru Usman. He now falls to 20-3 as a pro overall. Still a unbelievable pro record. This is his first time ever with consecutive losses. Definitely closes the door on his welterweight title reign. Omar, if you were the matchmaker of the UFC, what would you do next with the Nigerian Nightmare?
Well, now, knowing that Dana White is trying to do the Leon Edwards, Colby Covington, Bilal basically just got, like, thrown in the trash by his foster dad. I think you do Usman Bilal. I think that's the only thing that makes sense. Bilal at this point needs an opportunity to not get shafted, right? Like, he's got a lot of wins, but the reality is he doesn't technically have a win, I don't think, over a top 5 guy right now. Current top 5 guy. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve the title shot, because he does. He's on, what, an 8-9 fight win streak, something fucking ridiculous, and he's been looking like toot sweet in his performances. Yeah. So I make the argument that Bilal should be getting the title shot, especially over somebody who's been inactive for the last year and a half, and his last fight was a decision win over Jorge Masvidal, who he couldn't put away, and Jorge Masvidal was like in need of an oxygen tank. So I'm just, I've been more impressed personally by Bilal Muhammad than I have by Colby Covington in recent memory. So yeah, I think Bilal needs that win over somebody elite, and I think Usman's the guy to do that.
Okay. Mark, any other ideas for what Usman might get next in terms of his next matchup?
So it's very hard with him because obviously it's not Leon again. He's fought Colby twice. He's already beaten Burns. He's already beaten Jorge. And then there's Bilal. But if it's Colby Leon, I really think it's going to be Bilal Shavkat, because I don't think they want to run the risk of Usman winning and then being right there for a title shot again against one of Leon or Colby, who he's fought all these times already. So yeah. I kind of think it's going to be Bilal Shavkat, which leaves Usman with, like, I don't exactly know who it would even make sense for him to be fighting, because he's fought all these other guys at the top. I've seen some people throwing out him and Wonder Boy, which is like kind of cool, but kind of like,
Brandon?
Damn, that's what we have to do with Usman. Like, it kind of feels like a shuffle down. So I don't know. To me, I almost feel like he maybe wants to wait, let this Burns Jorge fight happen, let some bookings happen, and then just see what actually makes sense. And if Wonder Boy is the only thing that does, then sure. But I think maybe wait a bit.
Yeah, for that, I mean, I would even do the loser then of Shavkat and Bilal, because I think you're right. I think that is what Dana White is trying to go with.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Question: where do you have Stephen Wonderboy Thompson in the Priaulx rankings?
Directly below everyone we just said.
Okay.
Oh, and above Jorge, but it's Leon, Usman, Colby. I still have Chimaev in them. Bilal, Burns, Shavkat, Wonderboy.
Yeah.
Jorge.
I feel like Usman should definitely be right there at the top because, I mean, look, the guy has the second longest welterweight reign since, or rather the longest welterweight reign since GSP, with, I believe, 6 title fights in his reign since winning it, including winning it, I think. And the second fight the last fight with Edwards went how it went. He got caught at the very end in a fight that he was absolutely dominating. This fight, I will say that I think Edwards won the fight convincingly, but I don't think that Edwards was dominating Usman. He never really had Usman hurt. Usman was never rocked at any point, really. I don't think at all, really, right?
He took a baseball. He took a baseball bat to the head at least twice. Didn't knock him out like it did in the last fight.
Sure.
But homeboy felt it, and the sweat came off of his head. So he definitely got hit.
That knee staggered him for sure. That was a big knee.
Dude. Edwards was throwing some nasty fucking knees to the head from full clinch. That was nasty. People don't do that as much anymore. That was great.
I think, speaking of great, part of the equation that makes Kamaru Usman great is that he can take a punch, man. He can take a strike.
Oh, yeah.
Like anybody.
Yeah.
And he has a good poker face. And he has great defense to begin with. So
his face also is like, the two of them don't really show a ton of damage.
Yes, I agree.
They don't, both of them.
Yeah, it's true.
Leon landed a lot of shit in that fight, and Usman didn't really look too scratched up. I'm sure once he heals up and some other shit goes on, maybe there'll be some swelling or whatever, but they both didn't really look too bad by the end of that fight.
It's true. All right, well, let's move on in the interest of time. Congrats to Leon Rocky Edwards, not only for winning this third trilogy fight with Kamaru, but also congrats for being on the marquee on And New MMA show. All right, in the co-main event, UFC 286, Justin Gaethje defeats Rafael Fiziev in their 3-round co-main fight. Omar, let me start with you first. Man, oh man, another Justin Gaethje classic. What was your take?
I gotta say, while I was watching this fight, I was like, damn, Mike kind of called it here. This was definitely a y'all must have forgot performance because Justin Gaethje was heavy-handed. He was gigantic in there. I thought he was significantly bigger than Fiziev. I did not, even during the face-off, I didn't realize how much bigger Justin Gaethje was until they stood in that octagon together. And Fiziev held his own for sure, but the reality was the power of Gaethje was fucking crazy and an obstacle in and of itself. Not to mention you also got to deal with Gaethje's speed, his fight IQ, coming from different angles, combinations that he was putting together. And the damage was wearing on Fiziev, man. It really was. And you know, he was covered in blood by the end of that fight. His own blood, frankly. It was a great performance from Gaethje, man. I don't really know how you do much better than that. I don't know how you guys had it scored. I had it all 3 rounds for Gaethje. You know, he had Fiziev, like I said, had moments in there, but it was a wild fight for Gaethje.
Mark, give us your reaction to how this fight played out and how this fight evolved over 3 rounds, you know, culminating in a barn burner of a 3rd round and Justin Gaethje kind of running away with it.
Yeah, what a fight this thing was.
2 rounds to 1.
I know. I don't know if you saw the face I made. I was like, you definitely
Sorry.
didn't score round 1 for Gaethje. But yeah, what a fight this thing was. Fiziev is so good, and Justin Gaethje is such a Justin Gaethje. Like, it's just, it's ridiculous. But yeah, the fight evolved. Perfect word that you just used. Round 1, Fiziev is so fast. He is landing so fast that it kind of just felt like, what is Justin Gaethje going to do? Because it looked like he was in trouble. Like, he was barely landing. Fiziev would land 2 in every exchange while Justin would kind of load up and whiff on a big wide punch. Or even worse, he would step in to throw and he would just get like immediately comboed and frozen before he even started to throw. So round 1 ends and I'm like, oh shit, like this ain't going well. And Trevor Whitman nailed it in the corner about needing to tighten up. He told him, he was like, all your punches are way too wide. Keep them inside the shoulders. They're not going to land the way you're throwing them. And he was absolutely right. And as round 2 went on, Gaethje's adjustments really began. And it took him a bit, but by like the 3-minute mark, you could see he did start to tighten it up. He started to opt for strikes in tight as opposed to the big lunging shots. He got a bit more used to Fiziev's timing. He found some opportunities to slip and rip like only Justin Gaethje can do. But Fiziev battled back and forth with him all round, and he had done some real damage in the first couple minutes of round 2. It was playing out a lot like round 1 was. So, and at that point, Gaethje still wasn't doing much. So, to me, round 2 is a real toss-up round. So, if that fight had gone to Fiziev, I wouldn't have minded. I really think that round 2 was a coin toss, and I've watched it like 3 times. But, as I always like to reference, Pride-style scoring, Justin Gaethje won that fight because then round 3 comes and round 3 was big. Totally. It wasn't a 10-8 as one judge scored it, which was absurd. But in terms of the overall fight picture, it was the most significant story of the fight. Justin really found his avenue to victory in this round. He had Fiziev leaking. He had him looking tired at times, eating shots, and it was from 2 adjustments, really. One, he realized he had a jab and that the jab could be a weapon. He had not jabbed for 10 minutes, and then round 3 he comes out, and he is just sticking the jab in Fiziev's face, and I think that played a large part in why Fiziev's face looked like it did by the end of that round. And then on top of that, Justin started really working the uppercuts. Again, because Fiziev had slowed a bit, Justin had gotten a little more used to his timing, and it was letting him get inside for the little slip and rip uppercuts that Justin is so damn good at. And Fiziev was wearing it by the end. So I did think it was a close fight. I don't hate it either way. I think that round 2 was so close. But I am really impressed with the warrior that is Justin Gaethje. Because, like I said, after round 1, I thought he was in trouble. And he just didn't give two shits. He still managed to turn it into a Justin Gaethje fight and just drag Rafael Fiziev through the fire. So we'll see what's next for Gaethje. But as he said, he's trying to put together one more run here to the title.
I feel like the UFC should just have a special rule for Justin Gaethje that all Justin Gaethje fights are 5 rounds, no matter where he is on the card.
I would love that.
If he's still fighting and he's like 42 years old and he's like on the undercard again, still 5-round fight.
Yeah.
I think for Fiziev's sake, I think it was best it was 3 rounds by the end of that.
Yeah.
Dude, I think if that was a 5-round fight, I think Gaethje gets him out of there in the 4th or 5th round.
I agree. I think the 4th round, I think it would have been it. Yeah.
He was pouring on the damage in that 3rd round. But dude, in that 1st round, Fiziev was so much faster. And
so much.
Literally beating Gaethje to the punch every time Gaethje would enter. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, Gaethje's going to get knocked out. Because Fiziev also carries huge power.
Yes. Yeah, that's how I felt.
The body work, too, was, I thought, fantastic. Because Gaethje was headhunting while Fiziev was working the body majority of that fight. But, dude, I think we talked about it last week when we were talking about the sound that Gaethje's punches make, especially when you listen to the Tony Ferguson fight. If you watch that fight happened in the empty apex, and you could hear every single bit of power behind this man's shots. And this happened in a full crowd, a full arena in the UK, and you could still fucking hear every ounce of weight behind those shots every time Justin Gaethje threw something. It's terrifying. You could hear him through that UK crowd. That's a feat. That's a feat in and of itself. It's crazy.
So after tasting defeat in what was his 2nd shot at lightweight gold, Justin Gaethje gets back in the win column with yet another classic Justin Gaethje performance. And just a side note, what a catalog this man is building and has already built in his career. 24-4 as a pro. This is only his 4th victory by decision. Think about that.
Yeah.
You want a stat, sir? You want a fun stat?
Sure.
This man, in bonuses only, does not include any other money. Bonuses only, has made over $500,000.
Wow. Holy shit.
Should be more.
Yeah, man.
I won't dispute that. But that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yes. Justin Gaethje gets the Rounders quote, pay that man his money.
Yeah. When you sign to fight Gaethje, it's like so good and bad because you're like, wow, I am going to take a fucking beating, win or lose.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm definitely getting paid.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you hope so.
It's automatic.
You hope it doesn't become a performance of the night. You get fucking charged.
True.
So what's next for Mr. Gaethje? Mark, give us a name.
I mean, he's right there as I don't want to say odd, but like obviously he's had his chances and everything, but he's still right there. I don't know what the plan is at lightweight. I know Islam is out for a bit right now. He is calling for shots at Leon, which is not going to happen right now. Maybe eventually we could see him, try to become double champ at welterweight, but it's not going to happen right now. Volk is going to fight Yair, so that's not happening right now. So you would think that Islam needs to fight someone. So is it going to be Poirier? Is it going to be the winner of Dariush and Oliveira? I don't know. One way or the other, you'd have to think Justin Gaethje is going to be fighting one of those 3 guys. Obviously, Dariush is the only one we haven't seen yet. But with Poirier, it's been 5 years now, even though it doesn't feel like that. So, hey, if that's where we're at again, then that's where we're at. I don't hate it. And there's not really – you can't go any lower than that. He's got to fight one of these guys.
Man, I would love to see that rematch because I believe the Poirier fight was the fight that changed Gaethje, wasn't it? Because he got knocked out ultimately against Poirier.
Yes.
And that's when he was like, I got to stop being so kind of wild and fighting with reckless abandon. And he started to fight a little bit smarter, a tiny bit more conservative. And he's been on a tear ever since, other than his 2 title losses to Khabib and to Charles.
Yep.
So he's a totally different fighter in my eyes, Justin Gaethje. And, I mean, my God, that rematch. What a rivalry between those 2 guys. So evenly matched. Omar, what do you think? Any other names or which of the 3 that Mark pointed out would you most prefer for Gaethje next?
I think the Dustin Poirier one is the one that really makes the most sense. That fight is a guaranteed banger. That's probably one that'll be fight of the night, not performance of the night alone. And like you're saying, it's been a little bit at this point. They've kind of both done some things since then, some interesting things since then. They've both lost to Charles since then. They've both gotten a win since their loss to Charles since then. Good, solid wins. So yeah, I think now is a great time to spark that one more time.
Totally. Okay, what about Fiziev? Omar, staying with you here. Rafael Fiziev, a momentary stop on the hype train that is Fiziev. He has been on a tear through the division. This loss snaps a 6-fight win streak for Fiziev. Only his second loss of his career. Record now stands at 12-2. And this is his first time ever losing on the scorecard. So at lightweight, who would you want to see Fiziev match up with next?
I feel like this is the perfect time for Fiziev versus Gamrot. I think things have lined up quite a bit where Fiziev has taken a loss against somebody ahead of him, but he doesn't really need to drop too far down. But Gamrot, off of a win with Jalen Turner, shouldn't go too far up. But Michael Chandler right now is doing the Conor McGregor thing, so he's not really up for discussion as it is. And I think it's just they're pretty close in the rankings, I would assume. I think it's the right time to do it.
Mark, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to say the Conor Chandler loser for Fiziev just because of how fun that fight would be, but that fight's not going to be for a while. It still doesn't even have a date. So I think I'm probably going to be with Omar here and say let's opt for the style clash of Fiziev and Gamrot in there.
Like it. All right, let's move on. So a clash in the welterweight division happened between Gunnar Nelson and Bryan Bam Bam Barberena, and Gunnar Nelson gets it done by round 1 submission. What was the sub? It was a rear naked choke, yeah? No, armbar.
Yeah,
armbar.
So let's talk about this fight. Mark, give us your take of kind of a dominant performance and a vintage Gunnar Nelson performance.
Oh, yeah, both of those things. This was surgical from Gunnar Nelson. And he handled this matchup exactly how I imagined he would. He used that range-striking karate style that he has to keep Barberena out of range until he was ready to close it himself. Close it he did. He got his takedown. And then he was able to just work step by step. And to Barberena's credit, I thought he looked better on the ground than he did against Dos Anjos. He still got out of there quickly, but it didn't look like he was panicking this time. He was defending, but it didn't matter. As I said about Gunnar, he is so good that I just imagined he would be able to kind of step by step sucker Barberena into making a mistake, and that's exactly what he did. He lands some nice elbows, then he's posturing up as if more are coming, all the while repositioning his legs to prepare to jump for the armbar. Bryan leaves his arm over there to block what he thinks are going to be more elbows, and then he's got a tap to keep his elbow. So, beautiful win for Gunnar, and definitely a kind of a reestablishment for him. His first fight back wasn't against someone super relevant. I'm not saying Barberena is a contender, but he's looked pretty good of late. He has some good wins, and to see Gunnar walk through him like that says something.
Absolutely. Omar, let's bring you in here talking about this great win by Gunnar Nelson. What was your take on the jits on display from the Icelandic fighter?
I mean, that's the jits that you expect from Gunnar Nelson. That's the jits we know he has. It's just the jits he doesn't always pull off when he needs to. And that was kind of that's really always what my concern is with Gunnar Nelson is which Gunnar Nelson is going to show up. The one who's going to pull the trigger, the one who's going to play a heavy top game, the one who's actually going to, push that pace. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, well, sometimes it's not him. I was happy to see that this time around, it definitely was. I still wasn't super thrilled with the striking per se, but the top game was exactly what I expected. Heavy top game, and you saw exactly how he took advantage of it.
100%, man. 100%. Well, Nelson now with consecutive wins improves to 19-5 with, I believe, one draw. This is his 13th submission victory. So, Mark, a great win. You know, when a guy gets a win over somebody, they take their shine. So Bryan Barberena has been a guy who has been shining as of late with some wins over some very, very notable opponents. A couple of legends that he walked away with their shine, that being Robbie Lawler and Matt Brown. So Barberena has been gaining some notoriety himself, and now Gunnar Nelson comes along and dominates him in what was a couple minutes in the first round. So what's next for Gunnar Nelson, according to you?
So I think I might just go right back to the D-Rod booking that was supposed to be the booking for this card. I think it works pretty well, but I'll throw out one more. Maybe it's a bit of a reach, but I think that Neil Magny and Gunnar Nelson is a really fun, intriguing fight.
Great fight. Great fight. Great matchup. Omar, any other names?
I was actually thinking about the loser of Ponzinibbio, Kevin Holland. I actually thought that would be either one of them. I think would be very interesting. But Kevin Holland, I think more than Ponzinibbio, for being honest.
Also, a very interesting matchup would be Kevin Holland against Gunnar Nelson. Very interesting.
Yeah, it would be if it was Pons, it would be a chance at revenge for Gunnar because Pons put him out.
So after a 3-fight win streak, including those wins over the names I mentioned in Robbie Lawler and Matt Brown, Bryan Barberena now on a 2-fight skid. His record is now 18-10. Omar, if you were the matchmaker, who would you want to match up Barberena with next at 170 pounds?
Yeah, that's really the question now, isn't it? I don't know, man. He got worked in his last two, so like, what do you we could make excuses as to why and grapplers and former champions and all this other shit, but he didn't have too big of a problem with Robbie Lawler once he got weathered the storm, and so where do we really put him? Let me check something real quick. I don't really know what Miguel Baeza is doing. That boy has had some trouble in the UFC, to say the least. But he has never fought Bryan Barberena. He is an exciting fighter. And I think if he wants to stay in there, I think he's going to need a win. So I say Barberena against Miguel Baeza.
Okay, like it. Mark, any other names for Bam Bam?
Barberena and Tim Means have to fight each other at some point, right? Before it's over. I mean, that just feels like one that should be happening. That's where I'm going to go.
Love it. Love that one.
Seems like they're both used car salesmen that are just fighting.
Yeah.
Rude. That's rude.
I know. But that's what I get. Just, no, this is my sale. No, this is my sale.
I've never met a used car salesman with a mohawk.
You've never been to the Midwest.
Okay, maybe Tim Means I could see it. Maybe
he works
Tim
on
Means.
a farm, bro. He told you so many times.
He doesn't just work on a farm. He owns the farm. He is the
Bro,
farm.
he wore overalls over his hoodie to the UK. He is definitely a farmer. 100%.
For sure. All right, let's move on. All right, Jennifer Maia, unanimous decision over Casey O'Neill. Let's discuss this fight. Omar, give us your take on the winning performance by Jennifer Maia over the undefeated Casey O'Neill.
The fight overall, I thought was a little underwhelming, if I'm being honest. I definitely had Casey O'Neill winning, and having watched that fight, I'm not really sure why, because wasn't her best performance. I thought she lost every one of those rounds. And I'm not sure what the hell happened, because I don't really think Jennifer Maia is super good, and I don't really hold her to such high regard. I thought Casey O'Neill would be better than her, but she definitely wasn't. So a little confused.
Okay. Mark, you want to jump in and give us your take of Maia getting it done over O'Neill, giving her first loss?
Yeah, so I said this last week. That one went exactly how I wanted to pick it. And I said that even though I couldn't really figure out where O'Neill would be better, I just went with the youth and the girl who's undefeated, because I feel like too often I look at the veteran and I say, oh, the veteran's definitely going to win. So I finally made myself go the other way, and of course I get it wrong. So, yeah, I I didn't really see where Casey was going to have the advantage. I talked myself into that maybe it would just be from her like pure aggression and her pace. But it wasn't. Maia pieced her up for most of the fight with her boxing. Her hands looked really good. They were fast. They were accurate. Every time Casey stepped in to throw one, she would get hit with 2 or 3 from Maia. And she was in it for sure. You know, it was a competitive fight. Don't get me wrong. And maybe she even took the third round. Third round was close. But she spent too many minutes of that fight just eating punches. And she wasn't able to implement her wrestling at all to change that. So, yeah, I mean, at least the first 10 minutes, it was just her getting stuck on the ends of punches and not really being able to figure out a way to change the fight. So, not a super encouraging performance for Casey O'Neill, and a big win for Jennifer Maia.
100%. So, Casey King O'Neill tastes defeat for the first time in her pro career. Her record now stands at 9-1. Mark, staying with you here, what's next for Casey O'Neill trying to get back in the win column?
For O'Neill first, you said?
O'Neill first, yeah.
I will say Marina Moroz. I feel like that is an appropriate kind of break-pumping little step back, but it's still a fun fight that presents some questions that O'Neill would have to answer.
Omar?
Maybe we give her Tyler Santos. Does Tyler Santos have anything booked as of yet? I don't know what the hell is going on in that division anymore. The division's such a mess right at the very top right now.
No, she doesn't have anything booked.
I'll probably go in that direction. Maybe the girl won. You know, you got to bump her up a little bit. I don't think you need to bump her up too much, but...
No, he asked you about O'Neill, dude. We're doing O'Neill
first, bro.
Oh, my bad, dude. I thought we were doing Maia first.
It's all good.
I dropped the ball.
It's okay.
Piece of shit.
That makes more sense now. You said Santos, and I was like, wow, I disagree with that one. But
dude, what is Cynthia Calvillo doing? Is she finally gone, or?
No, she's booked. I'm pretty sure I saw. Who was it? I think I saw this. Yeah, against Lupita Godinez.
All right. You said Marina Moroz?
But it's in 2 weeks, so you could take the winner of that or something if you wanted.
I'd probably take the loser, if anything.
Yeah, fair.
Probably go in that direction. But to be fair, if Cynthia Calvillo loses again, I don't think there'll be a loser to take. So
yeah, there may not be.
All right, so the winning side here. With this win, Maia improves her record to 21-9-1. Her 12th win by decision. Now has back-to-back wins. Mark, give me a name for Miss Maia. She's been towards the top of this division for a while now. What's next?
I'll give you 2 different kind of fights. One would be 2 veterans who have kind of made their name and have never crossed paths, which is her and Lauren Murphy. And the other would be if you want to kind of do more of the veteran and Maia against a younger fighter trying to break through, then I would go Maia against Amanda Ribas.
Ooh. Wow, what a great fight. Omar, any other ideas for Maia?
I'm going to stick with my Talia Santos pick.
Oh, sure. Nice.
Now's the time to break it out.
Totally. All right, moving on. One more fight to break down before we hop into our lightning round. The opening fight of the main card, UFC 286, in the middleweight division. Marvin Vettori defeats Roman Dolidze by unanimous decision, breaking my heart in the process. Let's talk about this fight. Omar, give us your take first. What was your reaction fight? How did you score the fight? The judges had it 29-28, 29-28, and 30-27, all for the Italian Dream, Marvin Vettori. How did you score the fight?
So, Mark, I realized that you'd watched this fight twice now, right?
Yes.
I realized I had fallen asleep
Oh.
At this fight specifically.
You
And then I
outed
woke
yourself.
up afterwards. So I had to watch this fight today before getting on here. And I remember you saying you felt so confident after watching it a second time. That fight's a mess. That fight is so fucking close. Every single round I thought was competitive. Well, no, competitive. The first round, I gave it to Dolidze. The second round I gave to Vettori. But that third round is a mess. Like, I can't see anybody being 100% confident that one or the other won that third round. That third round is crazy. I had it. I was gonna say I had
you
it.
wanting me to jump in? I'm sorry. I was just listening.
I had it deletes personally.
You did okay
in that third round, but like telling me Vettori won that third round, I get that. I 100% get that. So I thought it was a very split fight.
Mark, do you care to interject?
Yeah, I thought the third round was clear for Vettori. I really live. I remember thinking, "Wow, I have no idea which way this is going to go," because I had it exactly how you just said. Deletes 1, Vettori 2, and then round 3, I was like, "Man, I don't know what just happened." When I rewatched it, I was like, "Vettori won that round so clearly," and I even thought round 1 was close. I still gave it to Deletes in the end, but I was like, "Fuck, that was closer than I thought." So I don't know. Maybe it's a personal thing. Obviously, you rewatched it as well for scoring, and obviously we're on different pages. But I thought it was a really well fought fight from Marvin Vettori. Was it competitive, as you said? Yeah, 100%. Did Deletes have his moments of being a big, scary dude? Yes, he absolutely did. But I thought Marvin landed more, and I thought he won the rounds. Even in the first round, he was landing so many clean shots in between the big Deletes moments. But then if that round does go Deletes' way, I still think Marvin stepped it up in rounds 2 and 3. He lands a ton of leg kicks, smooth counters, 1-2s where the 2 kept slipping through. And I thought he was finding Deletes all fight, and Deletes couldn't really find him as it went on. I thought Vettori's striking just looked one level above and he made it work in route to a victory. And like I said, I knew he would look to keep that fight standing for all 15 minutes and that he would likely be able to pull it off because Deletes wouldn't be able to change that, and he couldn't. And he made it a striking match. Was it closer than maybe Vettori thought it was going to be? Maybe. But I still think he got the W.
So Vettori gets back in the win column with this 15-minute decision over Deletes, improves to 19-6-1. This is Vettori's 8th decision win. Mark, what is next for Marvin Vettori? The Italian dream winning once again.
He's got options. I mean, it could be Cannonier, it could be Strickland, it could be Duplessis. All three of those make perfect sense at this point. It's kind of like a logjam at middleweight as we wait for Pereira and Izzy to play themselves out, and Whitaker kind of being a level above all these guys too. Obviously, he's going to have to fight someone. Maybe it's going to be Chimaev. Who knows? But I feel like that next bunch, he hasn't fought any of those guys. Cannonier, Strickland, Duplessis, and any of them work great.
Yeah. Omar, any other ideas for Marvin Vettori?
Yeah, Strickland was kind of at the top of my list there out of all the guys that are available, so to say. I just think that fight would be pure madness. And I think it would give Vettori something to aspire to in beating Sean Strickland's ass. So.
Not to mention on the middleweight note, did you guys see right before the show that Paulo Costa signed a new 4-fight deal?
Oh, no way.
With the UFC?
Yep.
Oh, they must be paying him.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously not for Vettori. They already fought, but I'm saying to fight one of these other guys I was just mentioning.
Yeah.
Costa's back in that mix now, too.
Well, he was making an embarrassing amount of money at the level he's at. So
yeah.
Yes. Okay. So Vettori puts a momentary halt on the Deletes hype train, which has been gaining understandable momentum with 4 straight wins, 3 of them by knockout. This is only his second loss of his career, now 12-2. So, Omar, what would you do next with Roman Deletes?
I would give him to Derek Brunson, and if Derek Brunson dies, he dies.
I thought Brunson hung it up.
He tweeted making it sound like he was. Like he said something like, I hope you've all enjoyed watching my career, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure he officially ever said it. But Omar, I thought you were going to go another way, and maybe you will in case Brunson's retired. I thought it was you that had said before you really wanted to see Deletes and Andre Muniz, but it didn't make sense booking-wise at the time. Now, I feel like you can make that fight.
That is a good fight. That's a very good fight.
Yeah.
Totally. What about you, Mark? You would
That's
say
it. That's
Muniz?
mine.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Nice.
You know where I'm at? I just see Derek Brunson having like some kind of ranking, and I'm just like,
You want it to go away?
like why? Like why do you have a ranking right now? Like honestly,
Dude, he's good. What do I have him at? I did drop him down. I have him at
he's
12.
fucking bro. He's 8th in
That's
the UFC
stupid.
ranking.
Yeah, I have him 12.
Top 10
Eighth,
still,
eighth
wow.
is too much. Take it easy.
So I'm just like, let's throw the people I actually think deserve that ranking at him, and if he dies, he dies. If he survives, then he deserves it. But I don't think he does. So
Okay.
there it is.
All right. Let us now hop into our. Wait. Do you add in the lightning sound effect?
I've always added
Okay.
in. We're on episode 86.
Right.
For 86 episodes, minus the one fucking iPhone episode you went with over there, I have been putting in lightning sounds.
Let's hop into our lightning round. Okay, here we go. Omar and Mark are gonna give us pew pew pew. That's not lightning. They're gonna give us their most
are
lightning
lasers.
quickest takes for the fights on the prelims and early prelims UFC 286. Let's go. The feature bout on the prelims on ESPN and ESPN Plus in the featherweight division. Jack Shore, round 2 sub against Makwan Amirkhani. Mark, go first.
Yeah, Jack looks different at featherweight. He honestly looks like a guy who could probably make bantamweight, but I guess not. At least not right now. He was definitely carrying a little bit of meat on him. He did start a bit slow. Granted, Makwan always starts very strong, and he did. But Makwan starting strong and fading in round 2 is a tale as old as time, and unfortunately happened again for him here. About a minute into that round, he started moving slower. Jack started lighting him up on the feet, and then after tenderizing him for a bit there, gets his takedown, moves to mount. Makwan turns over. All she wrote, takes the neck. Debut win for Jack Shore at featherweight.
Omar.
Makwan talking all that shit and having one round of gas makes no sense to me. I mean, he was completely done by round 2. And he went hard in round 1 and
He did.
kind of got some momentum and looked dangerous and stuff. But, like, if you can weather that storm, he was done. Done in round 2. And Jack Shore just played with his food in round 2. It's crazy.
Yep.
Lightweight division, Chris Duncan. Split decision over Omar Morales. Omar, staying with you. Go first.
I don't know if I had Chris Duncan winning this fight personally. I think I had Omar Morales edging this one out. It was a close fight, but I had Omar Morales edging this one out.
Mark.
Yeah, this is one that I haven't rewatched. I agree. Live, I thought it was really close. I couldn't decide on round 2. Morales won round 1. Duncan won round 3. And Morales looked real sharp early. It looked like Duncan might have had a problem solving that puzzle. But he adjusted. He started to really lean on the clinch and the grappling in round 2. It slowed Morales a bit. Obviously, it let him steal that round on the judges' cards. And then by round 3, he found even more success with the grappling. So maybe not how Duncan envisioned winning in his debut there, but he did what he had to do and he got the W.
Okay. Lightweight division. How do you say this kid's name? Yanal Ashmaz?
I believe that was it. Ashmuz, it might have been.
Ashmuz, yeah.
What
Yanal
was it?
Ashmuz. Knockout over Sam Peterson in the very first round. Mark, staying with you. Go first.
Dude, Ashmuz looked like a midget in there across from Sam Peterson. I mean, Patterson, excuse me. Patterson is a giant for that division. So I guess I'm curious to see him again, but this night it did not go his way. And what a unique finish it was. Ashmuz catches a leg kick with his left hand and kind of lifts it to make Patterson fall backwards. Whiffs with a big right, and then while he is still falling, lets go with the left and connects with the left. I don't know that I've ever seen that before. So obviously puts him nearly out with that and then pounded on him for quite some time, maybe too long of a time, but a hell of a debut win.
Too long.
Omar?
Definitely too long. Yeah, it was definitely too long. That could have been stopped long before that. It was to the point where Patterson was fighting Mark Goddard for like an extra 3-4 minutes in the cage because he didn't realize he was knocked out.
Yes.
It wasn't great. I will say it was crazy that it seemed like what is it, Ashmuz? Ashmuz had to basically get this kid off of his feet in order for him to get on his level of striking. because of how much shorter he was. He would have never. The first right hand was like nowhere near this dude's head because of how much shorter he was. And then as soon as the kick went up and like Patterson lost a bit of his balance and he kind of went back, he's like, oh, it's right in my line now. Bop, and cracks him. Fantastic little performance. Definitely good killer instinct to follow up and not let that go away. I can tell you right now, a KO is great when one of my friends who never watches UFC texts me and goes, is he dead? I think this guy might be dead. So, good on Eshmoos.
Totally. All right. Opening the prelims, UFC 286, Muhammad Mokaev, round 3, submission over, how do you say his name?
Rafael Filho.
Jafel Filo.
I think.
And what a fight. What a comeback by Mokaev. Omar, go first.
Dude, that is horrifying. The whole end of that fight is horrifying. There's a lot of nonsense and drama right now concerning the fight because there's a lot of talk about Mokaev having tapped multiple times throughout that fight. I never once... I actually did see during the fight what they were talking about or what they were referring to because there were moments where Mokaev was like tapping his back or... Filo's back, but it wasn't like it was during. It was weird because it didn't seem like it was during a submission attempt.
It was,
but he was tapping him, but it was weird. It's like, why are you tapping?
I agree, it was weird.
Are?
But like, I feel pretty safe saying that if he didn't tap to that knee bar, he wasn't tapping when nothing was happening.
I agree. I did read somewhere where the opinion was that there is dirty trickery at play when it comes to grapplers sometimes, that apparently they like to kind of tap on guys to sort of make them think that they are tapping so they can release some of the pressure of whatever it is that they have. I thought that was an interesting take. I don't know if I would apply that to this specific instance, but not something that I had thought of prior to reading that. So might be something to keep into consideration. Lightning round. I got it. I will say this. Mokaev's knee, I'm not a doctor. It's fucking destroyed. It's fucking destroyed. I don't know how many CLs are gone in there, but at least one gone. Gone. The thing's a balloon. It's gone.
Say it right.
Yeah. I mean, props to Mokaev. What a freaking animal this man is. What do you want me to say? Gone? Sorry.
No.
He wants me to say, it was a balloon.
Balloon.
Yeah, what an animal he is. The willpower it took to not tap to that knee bar is insane. That knee bar was so deep. His knee was bent so far. I mean, it was just popping and crackling. And he was like, nope, what is tapping? Never heard of it. And he said this himself. He broke Filho. For Filho to have that knee bar that deep and not be able to get Mokaev out of there. And then to have Mokaev get out and hustling and take his back the way he did, I think he was just like, what can I do right now? And it was a gutty win by Mokaev to keep his undefeated record intact. But I agree, I'm very concerned for what the long-term damage is for that knee because we may not see him for a while.
I hate that it's even really an option. I almost want to think about like referees kind of getting involved in those moments because, you know, there are a lot of submission attempts that we see, especially from women, that are sketchy, right? But they get out of it. They're very flexible and, you know, you're kind of glad nothing really was stopped early. But then you get certain circumstances like the one that we're talking about now, where you see this dude's leg is not doing movements legs should be doing. Like, it was inverted. It was inside out. Any more pressure, the bone was about to rip out of that leg. And that's that's kind of where I get bothered by the situation, because are we saying now that Rafael Filho, in order for him to win that fight, was he supposed to seriously snap this man's leg in half? Because if he is, I mean, if he's not that guy, which I kind of hate that you have to be that guy in there like that, but if he's not that guy, he was never going to win that fight. Yeah. Because Mokaev was ready to die, literally die and break every limb in his body to win that fight. He would have literally limped around for another round had he been given the opportunity to.
He's going to be limping around for a while.
I was thinking that live in my head. I was like, are there refs who would have just waved this off when they saw how inverted his knee was.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there are, but like I was trying to think, I was like, could you just be like, could you see it like with, with breaks where a guy doesn't tap, but they're like, nah, dude, your fucking shit just broke. Like,
yeah.
This is not so dissimilar. Like I could see a ref being like, I'm watching your knee be bent the wrong way, so like I'm not letting this keep going.
I mean, we could say the same thing about the John Jones Vitor Belfort moment, where Vitor Belfort had his whole life into that armbar, and John Jones talked about how his arm was numb for the rest of that fight, which to me says there were tendons in there that were done, ripped probably, or something along those lines. Like that arm was wrecked.
Yeah, but and I'm not saying that's the right call. I don't know what's the right call. I was
me
just
either.
In my head like, I wonder if there's refs who would have handled this a different way.
And it makes me wonder now too: is Philo ever going to go back to a knee bar? And if he is, like, dude, you got to be ready. You got to be ready to break his leg. You got to be ready to just keep going, keep pulling until somebody gets off of you, or somebody gets you off of him, because
which sucks.
He lost that fight because he didn't break the kid's leg. That's literally why he lost that fight.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lightning.
I feel like a bone break is different. Like a bone break is just more final.
Yeah, agree.
Dude, but if he broke his leg, I mean, this is. Do you come back from that? Because that's right by the knee. I mean, that's
true. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah,
going down into the early prelims, Lerone Murphy split decision over Gabriel Santos. Mark, go first.
This was a weird one. This maybe has been the hottest topic on Twitter of the many judging questions from this card. For me, it was weird for a different reason, though. I actually don't mind Murphy winning this fight, but for me, it's because I thought you could give him round 1. The judges gave him round 2, which I thought was absolutely Santos's round. So, like, two of the judges gave him that round. So, I don't know. Either way, it was a very close and entertaining fight. I thought both guys looked good. It was a great debut for Santos, and obviously a tough luck loss for him. But overall, I don't hate Murphy winning that fight, and I don't think he really lost any shine, and obviously he gets to keep the O.
Omar?
I think there was a little UK home cooking on that one. I think they had a little home seasoning for that fight there, because I don't think Murphy won that fight, dog.
You thought he absolutely lost round 1? I really thought round 1 was tight.
Yes, I thought he lost round 1. I thought he lost round 2. I thought round 3 was for him. Sure. Yeah, I thought round 3 was his. But those first 2 rounds I had for Santos. And
I mean, you're in the majority. That's what most people have been saying.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing over there, but they whipped up some UK bread over there for that one.
Brown bread.
Brown bread.
All right, let's keep going. Christian Leroy Duncan, round 1 TKO via knee injury over Dushko Todorovic. Omar, go first.
Man, these knee injuries, man. I don't know what's going on. This is like this is the 2023 thing now. We had 1 year where everybody was breaking their fucking leg, and now everybody's popping out their own knees. Yeah, man, I don't know. Dushku's in some rough waters there, because his knee definitely did a lot of popping in that video, and it did not look great. So I don't know if you guys actually had any follow-up to the injury, but I can imagine, again, it's another couple CLs that are destroyed in there.
It didn't even look like the movement wasn't even that extreme of a movement. He kind of pivoted on it while they were clinched, and he just went down. Mark, you go.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get to see a lot from CLD. I had heard good things, and I was interested to see him, but sometimes shit happens, and shit happened in this one. So, obviously, it sucked for Dushko. Buzzkill for Duncan in his debut as well. And, they'll both have to reset in different ways off of this one.
Okay, Jake Hadley, round 1 TKO over Malcolm Gordon. Mark, go first.
What a finish from Jake Hadley. I love a good body shot finish. He landed it once, saw the impact, went right back to the well. Apparently, Gordon was publicly having some liver issues during his weight cut. But, hey, it's fighting, and you're looking for a weakness, and Hadley knew he had one to target, and he went right for it. So what can you really say?
Yeah, man.
A nice win for him. That's 2 in a row now. that one's in a big way, and he called out Mikhaev, who apparently he has some issues with, which would be one hell of a prospect clash, but I would imagine we're going to have to wait a bit for Mikhaev to get healed before we can see that one.
Omar.
Yeah. Those are the type of body shots right there that you feel in your spine and in your soul. That shit, if you've never taken a body shot before, especially a body shot that puts you down like that, that radiates everywhere. You feel that everywhere in your body. So, damn, Malcolm Gordon, sorry. That was definitely a rough one to have. But Jake Hadley showed out, man. He showed out exactly during a time where he needed to. So good for him.
Okay, a couple more. Joanne Wood gets a win, split decision over Luana Carolina. Omar, go first.
Dude, I don't know. That's the best Joanne Wood I've seen in a minute. She was active. She was moving. She kept the pace. She kept the center of the octagon. She kept striking. There is a possibility that her dance partner, being Luana Carolina, didn't present as many obstacles as some of her other opponents may have in the past.
Yes.
But she did, a lot of times when you are matched up with somebody who may not be as skilled as some of the other opponents, a lot of times we still see people kind of just scrape by. I don't agree with the split decision. If I'm being wholly honest, I don't think Luana Carolina won any one of those rounds. Not one.
That was ridiculous.
That they didn't win any of those rounds. So I was glad to see that Joanne Wood was able to rise to that moment and kind of show that she's not at that level. She is above that level. She doesn't belong all the way down there. She's had some rough goes though. But this performance I thought was not one of them. It was a great, beautiful performance.
Yeah, I agree. She looked fantastic. Happy to see her back in the win column. I don't know who this judge is that scored the fight for Carolina, but thank God there was only one of him. JoJo absolutely earned that W. She looked good. She dictated the fight. She landed more, landed cleaner, and she toughed it out. But with all that said, I wouldn't say that she looked like a former title contender necessarily, which she was not that long ago. So we'll see what she brings to the next one, but I was happy to see her, back looking how we expect her to.
Okay, lightweights, Jai Herbert and Ludovic Klein, majority draw. So two of the judges scored the fight even. One judge had it for, I don't know who, maybe Jai Herbert, I think.
Yeah,
yes.
29-27.
Correct.
Mark, you go first.
Yeah, I mean, I know Jai was upset, and he certainly did win, the overall fight, but a draw is the correct score in my book. He cost himself a point in round 3, making that a draw round, and I thought he took round 2 off. If he wouldn't have taken round 2 off, he wouldn't have had to worry about it, but I thought he did. I thought Klein won that round just purely off activity, and we end up with a draw. So I do think Herbert looked good overall, as I said, against a tough opponent in Klein, and I think he can take some positives away from that fight, but unfortunately lost the point and doesn't get the W.
Omar.
Remind me why he lost that point. I can't remember if it was an eye poke or if it was a fence grab. I can't remember what it was.
Fuck, I'm blanking too now. What did he do?
Hang on. We got to find out.
Wow, I really can't remember.
Kicked him in the dick twice. Oh.
Back-to-back dick shots? Is that what it was?
I think it was, but I don't actually think he hit him in the dick the second time either, actually. I think he hit him in the belt line.
Oh, was that the one where Bisping kept saying it was the hip? Is that fight?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, I think that's why it kind of left a sour taste in his mouth, too, because I don't think he actually did hit him in the dick the second time.
Right, that's what it was. Yeah, the first
did
one
hit him
was
in the dick the first time. Yes. Yeah, I thought Jai Herbert actually did work in that fight. I thought he did really well. Obviously, the point deduction is what it is, but I thought he handled that fight all 3 rounds.
Nice. Okay, last one. Let's bring it home, boys. Veronica Marty, UD over Juliana Miller. Excuse me, not Marty, Hardy. I typoed it and I just read it. God, really am like Ron Burgundy. Fucking Veronica Hardy.
I'll read anything you put on that teleprompter.
It is an H. Thank you. Omar, put me out of my misery. Go first.
Dude, Veronica Hardy looks awesome. That girl looked fantastic. She put the beats on Juju Miller. I think we've talked about it before. Juju Miller's a scrapper. She's definitely a girl who comes to fight. She doesn't quit by any stretch of the imagination. But her striking needs a lot of refinement. That girl was going all over the place. She couldn't keep a base to save her life. Her groundwork was kind of where I think she tried to make something happen, but the striking, there is a serious discrepancy in her striking with everybody else, especially that's above her. So she's got to figure that out. She's got to figure that out ASAP because she's going to get hurt in that octagon if she can't fight properly.
Mark?
Yeah, I was excited to see Juliana Miller again, but she got handled. Hardy won on the feet, maybe as expected, but she also won in the grappling. She did a fantastic job to nullify the danger that Miller presents on the ground and to really make her pay down there whenever she had an opening. She was landing a lot of shots on the ground. So definitely a much improved Veronica Hardy from when we last saw her as Veronica Macedo, and a good comeback win for her as she returns to the fold here.
That's what I was doing. I was combining her maiden name and her married name.
There you go. I'm sorry, yeah, I was going to say, we knew Juju was like raw on the feet.
Yeah.
But I think it got extra exposed here because Hardy is a skilled striker. And I also think because she can always kind of rely on that grappling and mask that she doesn't really want to be on the feet, and here she couldn't. So it kind of just – it all got shown at once what her weaknesses are.
Dude, there was a lot of Matador moments in that fight where Juju was running at Hardy and Hardy stepped over and Juju kept running at the fence. It was embarrassing. Not great.
She's got some Taekwondo credentials, if I recall, Hardy.
Yeah. Yeah. But now she's, I mean, dude, the mind of Dan Hardy, exclusive to her, essentially.
Yeah.
Totally.
Did you see her interview post-fight?
Like cheat
she
codes.
was saying exactly that. She was like, it's crazy, like how smart he is.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, it's a real plus for her career right now. And the fact that she's able to translate it and actually put it into action, it's a dangerous combo, man. A real dangerous combo.
Yep.
But, man, Juliana Miller, I'm a fan, man. Her nickname is what?
Me
Killer?
too.
Her nickname should be like the American Zombie because that's how she fights. She makes it a scrap. She never stops coming. She has a big heart. She has so much grit and determination. And I think she'll be back. I think she's young, isn't she?
Yeah,
so
she is.
Her skills are going to keep improving, and pair that with her I'll say it again. Her grit and determination is evident. So.
Oh yeah, the mindset is there for sure.
Yes.
This is one of those things though where it's difficult because we know this girl's not getting paid a ton. I don't know what the bill situation looks like, right? I don't know what any of that is, but this realistically, she needs to take like months off. Straight striking. Just, throw some BJJ in there, but that seems to be where she's most comfortable. But the striking, that's where she needs to fucking go to more like Thailand. Go to Thailand for 8 weeks and come back a fucking monster. Because what's happening now to her is she's not going to go anywhere, man. And I do like her, and I want her to go somewhere, especially with the story she has. But there's no way you can look at her fighting in that fight and be like, that girl is going to be champion one day. It's not. It's not going to happen. It's just not.
Well, all right. With that, let's put a bow on UFC 286 by finding out who rose and fell in Mark's very own rankings system, which we called the Priaulx Rankings, after him. Mark.
It's a very tiny update this week. There was a lot of the type of fight where it was like, Gaethje beating Fiziev, no one really moves that much. Maia beating Casey O'Neill, no one really moves that much. Gunnar Barberena, like all kind of the same deal. Although Gunnar I did put in here. So I kind of just went with two small ones. No fallers this week. The two risers I'll give you are Gunnar Nelson. He went from number 31 to number 27 in my welterweight rankings, just kind of climbing back up as he re-enters the mix here. And then the other was Jake Hadley, going from number 28 to number 24 in my flyweight rankings, as he now moves to 2-1 in the UFC after an early hiccup. And that is it for the week. Not a ton of movement.
Wow. All right. Let's now shift over to inside the MMA sphere with Omar, telling us what's new in the world of MMA outside of the cage. Omar?
All right. Before we start, I just want to give a quick shout out to MMA in New York. It is 7 years to the day since MMA became legal in New York.
Wow.
That was a fantastic day for Omar. I was working at the New York Times when I found that information out, and I was ready to buy my UFC tickets for Madison Square Garden, and I could not because it was a McGregor fight, and they were too fucking expensive. So, I missed the first one.
Well,
but I did end up there.
The first one was McGregor and Eddie?
Yeah.
Oh, your boy was there.
Ah, you son of a bitch. That was the first one. And then the next one, I think the next one after that, like the year later, was DC and Lewis. And that one I went to. And bro, floor seats for that one were like $300. Like, and I bought them the Wednesday before. So, good times. Anyway, yes. So, for those of you who don't know, MMA has gone through different stretches of legality between all the different states. New York was one of the last states to get the legality of MMA passed. There's a lot of corruption, a lot of crazy shit. I recommend those of you who don't know about it, they should make a movie about it or a documentary because it's pretty wild. But I suggest you go look it up. It is pretty interesting, but it's been 7 years to the day, March 22nd, 2016, I believe, is when it happened. Next on the list, Tracy Cortez. It looks like she'll be out for a little bit now. She has had recent hand surgery due to an injury that she looks like she had, I believe, on her thumb or something along those lines. But she will be out for the foreseeable future, it looks like. And my wife wanted to make sure we were all aware that Brian Ortega and Tracy Cortez are no longer following each other now on social media. So it has escalated, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Game on.
For that
Shit is not okay over there.
significant update.
I know you were upset last time when I didn't bring it up, so I had to make sure I tightened my shit up this week.
Stepped it up.
That's right. News that I know Mark is not thrilled about. His boy Kyler Phillips, along with another fighter, Darius. Is that your? I thought that was your boy too. You don't like Kyler Phillips?
Oh, I like Kyler Phillips too, but Mike is the one always calling him. What does he call it? Some fucking absurd.
Steph Curry. It's the Steph Curry of MMA.
Oh, that's right.
Curry.
That's right. The Steph Curry of MMA.
I can't take it.
All right. Well, he can no longer have that one because
Not
Steph
Steph Curry
is
now. Not Steph Curry now.
Steph Curry never. Never.
When?
Never.
Out of Davidson.
No.
He drew with Rowley and Paiva.
That was
Kyler
a shit
Phillips,
draw. I hated that draw.
That is true. That was a bullshit draw.
It should have been a draw. Wasn't it? It was a loss? Or no, it was a draw that should have been a win. Is that what it was? Sorry. Okay, yeah.
Well, no,
Sorry, Omar. Sorry.
It's okay. Kyler
Never gonna
Phillips
live that down.
and Darius Flowers have both been temporarily been suspended for the use of Osterine.
I'm right. It was a loss that should have been a draw.
A draw. Yeah.
So he really only did draw with Rowley and Paiva. So my point stands. Sorry. Go ahead.
You're good. Apparently, Osterine, which is again what was found in their system, is not approved, quote unquote, for human use or consumption in the U.S. or in any other country. So, not great. Obviously, they are fighting back against it, I believe. I don't think that they are taking this one lying down or accepting this finding. So, we'll see what happens from there. Next on the list, former UFC champion Germaine de Randamie and her partner Sam welcome their new baby boy Isaiah to the world. I don't think we'll be seeing, obviously, Germaine de Randamie for a minute now. She did carry the baby between her and her partner, so there's a recovery process and obviously all that other stuff to go in mind. So I don't think we'll be seeing her. Did she retire?
I don't think she officially did, but like I was just gonna say, it might be it.
It might be.
She is older.
Yeah. Congratulations to them because she is. I'm sure that was could have been a very difficult pregnancy at her age. So congratulations to them. Logan Paul. I don't usually tend to like to bring him up over here, but Logan Paul might look to fight UFC star Darren Till in a boxing match. I don't hate it, if we're being honest. I don't hate it.
It's not the worst thing I've heard.
It's not. Darren Till will get a bag. I don't even really know if he'll win that fight, but they'll both get paid. So I'm sure that'll be nice.
Totally.
So I was debating whether I wanted to put this on the news thing or not here, just because of the topic, and I didn't really want to perpetuate the bullshit. But my wife told me that it would be important to bring this up and how fucked up it is in the first place. So I will do that. Jeff Molina, former UFC fighter, who was recently involved in an entanglement, if you will, with the James Krause situation involving the sketchy betting and I guess fixing fights to a certain extent. There's never been any information as to the extent of Jeff Molina's quote unquote involvement or even what that really was. But there was enough, it seems like there was enough evidence to suggest that there was some involvement, enough to the point where they've suspended him and he's currently under investigation.
The suspensions of all these Krause associated people are purely a suspension while the investigation happens. It's like a precautionary suspension. It doesn't actually indicate they have found that they did anything wrong yet.
But they did have enough to warrant the investigation, I guess, is kind of where I was going with it.
Enough of a connection to Krause, yeah.
Right. And potentially the situation itself.
Not like that they saw some shit go down in Molina's fights or something like that.
Yes, exactly. So I bring this up because he is no longer in the UFC currently as a result of that issue, but he did find himself, unfortunately, in the news as a result of a leaked video showing him and another man engaged in fun activities. Unfortunately, this was not something I'm assuming he wanted to be publicized like this. He did come out and talk about how he is bisexual. He didn't really want people to refer to him or to think of him as the quote-unquote bisexual fighter, which I totally understand. Anybody who's a fan or has been a fan of the MMA world knows the MMA community, and unfortunately there are a lot of sick, nasty fucking assholes in this community. And so it might be rough for Jeff Molina going forward. But he is, I hope not too. But again, I mean, these are the guys who scream, grab your dick and twist it. So you never know.
It sucks.
A lot of fighters seem to be embracing him on Twitter.
100%. And the reality is that kind of revenge porn bullshit where they like leak these kind of things is like, I mean, that's just next level scumbaggery. I don't care, gay, straight. It doesn't really matter. It's garbage nonetheless.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, I feel bad for the kid. He is officially, since we're making history, I guess, officially the first openly bisexual, homosexual fighter, I guess, member of the LGBTQ community in the UFC. Obviously, this has been a relatively normal thing for women in the UFC, that we've seen a multitude of women representing that that side of the world or that group. But we haven't seen men openly admit to it. And let's be real, they're fucking there. They're there, but none of them want to talk. None of them want to deal with it, especially with the fan base. And I totally get it. And it's unfortunate this man was forced to put his business out there like that. And hopefully he can make it through as least scathed as possible. So,
I mean, I guess a lot of people perceive fighting sports as a pretty masculine or a hyper masculine endeavor. So, I would.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? If there is a video of Izzy blowing a guy, right?
Wow.
Does it change the fact that Izzy roundhouses motherfuckers in the face?
No,
Does
not
it
at
change
Oh no, I think guys just don't. Guys who don't want it to be out because they know they will lose training partners. Whether that's right or wrong, it's.
I agree. not even training partners, but also fans as well. I mean, there will be literal vitriol coming at them from all different angles. All walks of homophobia are now going to be growing around him like he's a goddamn mushroom. Like, it's not great. It's not great. And I'm sure there's a lot of guys who probably dabble on that side of the fence themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if Izzy did either, if we're being completely honest. I don't know if he does or doesn't. I don't think it really fucking matters.
I'm not gonna
I don't think it matters.
Down this avenue of guessing who's who.
But it doesn't matter, is my point. And I just think it's
matter.
unfortunate that this kid had to be put in a position to sort of identify himself now as such when it didn't seem like it was a prerogative of his.
Yes.
Yeah, to me, it's interesting how this story certainly is news, but in another sense, it's not that big of a deal to me. And all I mean is, like, obviously, it fucking is shitty as fuck the way that this happened to this guy.
Yeah.
Didn't get to come out on his terms, but at the same time,
Right.
it's 2023 and it's not 1953, and it's kind of like, okay, so he's gay, like, or even like, so he's bi, like, so he's bi,
Yeah.
like, who cares? But it sucks that there are guys out there who unfortunately do care in a negative way. Still, so
Yeah.
respect to Jeff Molina.
Facts. All right. We got a couple of fight announcements and we can move right along. First on the list, Alex Caceres is out against his fight against Nate Landwehr this weekend. Nate Landwehr will be facing Austin Lingo now on short notice. Jeremiah Wells versus Matthew Semmelsberger has been added to UFC's Vegas card on April 22nd. Melissa Martinez is out against her fight against Ismael Lucindo. Lucindo will now be facing Brogan Walker at UFC Vegas 71 on April 22nd. Good fight. Still think Lucindo wrecks Brogan Walker. Love Brogan Walker, though. Fun fighter. Emily Ducote versus Polyana Viana has been added to UFC's Vegas card on April 29th. Drew Dober versus Matt the Steamroller Fravola added to the UFC's 288 card on May 6th. Mahashate versus Vyacheslav Borishev has been added to UFC's May 20th event. Tim Elliott versus Alan Nascimento has been added to UFC's June 3rd event.
I didn't see that. That's fun.
Jasmine Jusudavicius versus Miranda Maverick has been added to UFC's 289 event on June 10th. That's a banger. I'm excited for that fight. And last but not least, Eric Anders versus Marc-Andre Barriou has been added to UFC's 289 card on June 10th. And I'll tell you right now, if it's the Eric Anders that showed up at his last fight, that's a great fucking fight right there. If it's the Eric Anders of old that doesn't do shit, it's going to be a long night. But that last Eric Anders, sign me the fuck up for that dude. That's all we got, baby.
All right, let us now jump into our preview portion of our show. Once again, like and subscribe. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to support the show, you can find us. We started a Patreon, patreon.com/andnew. Drops a couple of bucks, helps keep the show going. Okay, this weekend we have UFC Fight Night Vera versus Sandhagen going down at the AT&T Center in San Antonio, Texas. I love it when a fight night feels like a pay-per-view, and it probably will at the AT&T Center. So here we go. Before we jump into, I believe we're going to preview and pick 6 of the fights. So 1 prelim fight and all 5 of the main card fights. Before we get into this fight talk, gentlemen, any other fights or fighters that you guys want to spotlight for our listeners?
You still can't get straight what's on the main card of the prelims.
God
we're,
damn it.
we're just doing the main card.
Oh, we are?
6 fights on the main card.
I've been led astray. Do you want to spotlight any other fighters?
Sure. Sorry, I had to call you out. It's too funny because we discussed it before the show. So, yeah, I will spotlight the return of Daniel Pineda. Weird, got to judge exactly how good he is, considering that he has popped in 3 of his last 5 fights. But He has looked really good in his performances, so I'm curious enough to see him back. He's going to be fighting Tucker Lutz. So that's an interesting one. And then I could see Steven Peterson and Lucas Alexander being a scrap in a fight that you wouldn't want to miss.
Anything else?
No, Daniel Pineda was mine. He popped? He popped for what?
For
amphetamines. Oh
yes, amphetamines. Yes, that's it. Yeah, and he popped right before he came to the UFC when he was in PFL. So the man is doing a lot of popping.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Shall we get into the first fight?
Let's do it.
Okay. Just tell me which is the first one.
Just right up the main card. We're only doing the main card. 6-fight main card.
So Chidi is the first one.
Chidi is the first one. Okay. Okay, middleweights. Chidi Njokuani taking on Albert Duraev. Njokuani, Chidi, bang, bang. The 34-year-old out of Las Vegas, Nevada. 22-8 as a pro. 14 wins by knockout. Coming off of a loss against Gregory Rodriguez. Hobocop knocked him out last September. Looking to get back in the win column. Taking on Albert Duraev, the Machete, the 34-year-old out of Russia. He's 15-4 as a pro, 3 knockouts, 9 submissions on his record. Also looking to get back in the win column with a win this Saturday night. Mark, why don't you start us off? Give us your prediction and your pick.
All right, so Chidi's the favorite here. He is minus 170. Duraev is plus 135. I hope that Chidi Njokuani can create a bit of an instant replay of Joaquin Buckley's performance against Duraev. And Buckley was the same size as Duraev and still managed that. Chidi's going to have a 4-inch height and a 5-inch reach advantage, which should be a big factor. And he's a big dude in general, so I think he can resist the takedowns for the most part. And then from there, I think Duraev's a pretty hittable guy from what we've seen thus far. And when you carry the power that Chidi does and can work from range in this particular matchup the way that he can, I think that's a recipe for a finish. So I know Chidi lost his last fight, but let's not forget how good he had been looking prior to that. And even in that fight, he was winning that fight early on. So I think he can restart that here. As long as he can stuff some takedowns, and I think he can, I think this goes his way. I will say Chidi gets a round 2 knockout.
Okay, Omar.
I'd have to agree. I think the wrestling is something that you have to think about for Duraev, but I just think Njokuani's a little bit too skilled for it. His takedown defense is pretty damn solid. And like Mark said, Duraev is definitely hittable. So I think it does end up going Chidi's way. I just think it's a little earlier. I think Njokuani round 1 KO.
We are unanimous on this one. I'm a fan of Chidi Njokuani's stand-up skills. Before his loss to Hobocop, he was on quite a tear, finishing his previous 4 opponents, if not more. I only can see his last 4. But his previous 2 opponents, he finished in the first round, and I also think that he's going to get another very impressive round 1 KO. All 3 of us for Chidi Bang Bang Njokuani by knockout.
Nice.
Okay, moving on. Which is the next fight? Mark, tell me.
Why don't you just open UFC.com? I don't understand. It's Perez and Kape.
Okay, Alex Perez. Here we go. Flyweights. All right, I have it up there now. Alex Perez taking on Manel Kape. Perez, the 30-year-old out of California. Record stands at 24-7. 5 knockouts, 7 subs, 12 decisions. He is very much looking to get back in the win column after dropping back-to-back fights to Davison Figueiredo and Alexandre Pantoja. Most recently, Pantoja back in July. He is 6-3 in the UFC after winning on Contender Series. He will be standing across from Manel Starboy Kape, the 29-year-old out of Angola. His record stands at 18-6 with 11 knockouts, add 5 subs to that. Only 2 wins have come by decision. Never been knocked out, has been subbed twice, and he is riding a 3-fight win streak coming into this Saturday night. Most recently, defeating David Dvorak in December by decision after dropping his first 2 UFC fights by decision. He's now won his last 3. Omar, go first.
So I know Manel Kape is a big prospect. I do think he's very good. I think he's very explosive. But I think this is going to be one of those types of fights where there will be a need to be a bit more meticulous, a bit more technical, and even probably more measured than he has been in his previous fights. I don't think the crazy explosive shit that he does is going to catch Alex Perez off guard like it may have some of the other guys that he's fought. I think Alex Perez is very, very, very good. Lost to the elite, but definitely belongs at the top of that division. So I do think that the experience is going to work in Perez's favor. I think he goes all 3 rounds with Manel Kape. I think it's unanimous for Perez.
Mark?
So Perez is a bit of a dog here. He's plus 150. Manel Kape is minus 180. Manel Kape time again, baby. Pretty sure I'm just going to keep picking him until I'm wrong. But I don't think that's going to be here. I think he can take Alex Perez. Size-wise, Perez is 1 inch taller. But Kape is going to have a 2.5-inch reach advantage. And Alex Perez is good. I know it's a bit hard to remember that because his fights have been getting canceled at an insane rate lately. But as Omar alluded to, he's only been beaten in the UFC by Pantoja, Figgy, and Benavidez. So you've got to be good to beat Alex Perez. He can wrestle, he can grapple, he can strike, he's got nasty leg kicks. There's a lot to like in Perez's game. But I don't see him being able to ground Kape here for any notable period of time. Even if he gets him down, I think it might be hard to hold him down, which leaves me with what I expect will be a mostly striking match, and I favor Kape all day in that environment. I just, I've been on this guy. I believe in his talent. I think that he is so slick. He sets traps beautifully. He should be faster than Perez. He may even hit harder than Perez. And I think Kape is top 5 level good, if not better than that. And I think that's the level he'll be on when he gets his W on Saturday. So give me Manel Kape by UD in a fight that he takes over more as it goes on.
I agree. I think that Manel Kape is a rising star among the flyweight ranks, and I'm looking for him to win this fight impressively and really stamp his ticket to the upper echelon of the 125-pound division. Give me Manel Kape round 2 TKO over Alex Perez.
Jesus
That'd
Christ.
be big. That'd be big.
Come on, Alex. They don't believe in you, baby. I believe in you. Let's go. Let's
Okay,
go.
here we go. From flyweight over to women's flyweight, Andrea Lee taking on Maycee Barber. So we have Andrea KGB Lee, the 34-year-old out of Louisiana, 13-6 as a pro, 3 knockouts, 5 subs on her record. Looking to get back in the win column after losing to Viviane Araujo back in May of 2022. She is now 5-4 in the UFC. Maycee Barber, the future, the 24-year-old out of Greeley, Colorado, 11-2 so far as a pro with 5 knockouts. Add 2 subs to that. Never been finished at all in her career thus far. And she will be riding a 3-fight win streak coming into this weekend. After winning on a Contender Series, she is now 6-2 in the UFC. Mark, let me start with you this time. The future, Maycee Barber taking on KGB Lee. What's your pick?
So big fight for Maycee here. She is a pretty big favorite in it. She's minus 270. Andrea Lee is plus 210 as the underdog. Lee certainly has an angle in this fight in that she's going to have a 4.5-inch reach advantage over Maycee. And if she can keep that range and use her range striking to pick away at Maycee Barber, she could absolutely do this because Andrea Lee can strike for days. When she starts to flow, she is nasty. Remember the way that she was piecing up Viviane Araujo before Araujo was able to swing that fight with her grappling. Like, the avenue is there, but if you ask me the most likely scenario here, I think it's Maycee winning with physicality, kind of similar to how Araujo was able to swing that fight, to be honest. Yeah. I think Maycee's probably faster. I think that she, not faster hands, but just faster athlete, I think she's absolutely stronger. I think she can control Lee in the clinch. She's really improved that part of her game lately in terms of her striking in the clinch. I think she can find takedowns in this fight. I do think Lee will have to spend some time on her back. And Barber works, man. She knows how to score when she's in these advantageous positions, against the cage or on the mat. So I like Andrea Lee. I think she's been a bit underrated herself, but I think this matchup favors Maycee, and that Maycee probably gets what you may call her biggest win of her career thus far here. So I will say Maycee UD.
Omar.
Yeah, I would agree as well. I think Barber has a lot more tools overall. I think where the fight's really going to end up happening is that distance, like Mark was talking about. Andrea Lee is going to keep trying to maintain that distance, that long range distance as much as she can, especially using her kicks and her long range jabs and even crosses. But Maycee Barber's game is more than likely going to have to be how to find that entry, how to come inside, how to find the takedown, how to get into grappling range without getting her ass beat. And it's not like Maycee Barber doesn't throw hands, but if the goal is to get on the inside, she's going to need to find a safe way in order to do that, take advantage of that moment, and really put the grappling on Andrea Lee. I think Barber has the ability to do that. She's a very smart fighter. She's gone through a few different types of experiences already at such a young age, especially fighting a lot of veterans, women that at this point, have had championship fights before, have had all of these top level competitions. So I just think Maycee Barber's got some really nice looks in her resume. I'm going to go with Maycee Barber by unanimous decision.
We are unanimous by taking Barber by unanimous decision. Like all the points both you guys already made about her. Don't want to be too much of a parrot, but I totally agree. I think, yes, Maycee Barber is going to be giving up some size and some height, but she's going to be the more stout, stronger. I believe that Maycee Barber is a bit of a more dynamic athlete than Andrea Lee. I think she's going to get inside of her, and I think she's going to shine in top control in this fight, eventually getting Andrea Lee to the ground. Tempted to take her by a submission late in the fight. But Andrea Lee, so far in her career, 19 fights, has proven to be pretty durable. Has never been knocked out, only been submitted once. So I'm also going to take Maycee Barber by a unanimous decision. Okay, moving on to the featherweights now. Nate Landwehr taking on Austin Lingo as a late replacement for Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres Landwehr. Nate the Train Landwehr, the 34-year-old out of Clarksville, Tennessee. His record stands at 16-4 as a professional with 8 knockouts, add 1 sub to that. He's riding a 2-fight win streak coming into this weekend. Most recently, a majority decision over David Onama back in August. His first quick note, Nate Landwehr's first 4 pro fights were with the XFC, of which I announced the XFC's last 2 events before they folded like a house of cards.
Yeah.
Let's see. He will be standing across from Austin Lights Out Lingo, the 28-year-old out of Mesquite, Texas. 9-1 as a pro, 3 knockouts, 2 subs, also with consecutive victories coming into this weekend. Omar, why don't you go first? Give us your take and your pick.
So for those of you really quick who didn't watch the Nate Landwehr David Onama fight, highly recommend. That fight was absolute madness.
Great fight.
Yeah, fantastic fight. This is also, I think, a very interesting fight. Austin Lingo taking this on short notice. I think Nate Landwehr is a tank, man. If the David Onama fight you don't want to watch for straight up enjoyment, and you should definitely watch it for some research, because we learned a lot about Nate Landwehr in that fight. He's a tank. He is definitely durable. And I think the biggest thing is, he has the ability to take damage, but he also has the ability to continue to come forward even when he's in the middle of those wars. I don't know if Austin Lingo is going to have that. I don't know if he's going to have the amount of determination required to get Nate Landwehr out of there, let alone the skills in general. I think Nate Landwehr puts a beating on him. I think we get him out of there in the second round. KO for Nate Landwehr.
Mark?
All right, Nate is minus 230. Lingo is plus 180 as the dog. Tough to pick against Nate the Train right now, man. We saw him beat Darren Elkins a few fights back, and I almost feel like in some ways Nate Landwehr is kind of like the new Darren Elkins. Like the more he has to push through, the more dangerous he becomes type of deal. He has been finished a couple times in the UFC, mixed in there with the impressive wins, but I don't think Austin Lingo necessarily brings enough of that fight-ending danger to get Landwehr out of there. What he does bring, Lingo, is the fight, which I think will have Landwehr licking his chops to bring it in return, and I think he'll bring it even more than Lingo does. So I think Nate can beat him in the striking. I think he could also mix in some grappling if he so chooses. I think he probably has an advantage there. Not sure if he will go that way, as I know he always is looking to entertain, but I will say he does more damage either way and wins an entertaining UD.
Yeah, and that fight with David Onama, I remember why it wound up in majority decisions. One judge had it a draw. Was there a reason why it was a 20-28 on that scorecard?
I honestly can't remember. They might have just been a straight up fucking draw because of how crazy that fight was.
Because I remember
I think
10-9,
it was
10-9, 10-8.
Yeah. It was a
as that
10-8
fight
round
went
for
on,
Nate
in
round two.
Oh, in round two, yes. As that fight went on, man, he looked so good against a guy, David Onama, who brings quite a bit of firepower at 145 pounds. Nate Landwehr looked incredible in that outing. So, like Mark said, hard to pick against him right now at this point in time. And I do see him getting the W over Austin Lingo. A rising prospect, no doubt. He has youth on his side, 9-1 so far, but I think he's going to get a heat check, and I think Nate Landwehr is going to hand him his first knockout in the second round. Recording. Okay, co-main event time. Women's bantamweight division, Holly Holm taking on Yana Santos, formerly Yana Kunitskaya. So we have Holly Holm, the preacher's daughter, the 41-year-old, fighting out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Her record stands at 14-6 as a pro, with a long boxing and kickboxing career preceding her MMA career. Of her 14 wins, 8 have come by way of knockout, and she's looking to get back in the win column after a disappointing split decision loss at the hands of Ketlin Vieira back in May. She is 7-6 in the UFC so far. Her UFC strength of schedule can rival anyone, and she's fought a who's who of women's MMA overall, not just UFC. She was standing across from Yana Santos, formerly Yana Kunitskaya, the 33-year-old fighting out of Russia, 14-6 as a pro, 1 no contest, 7 knockouts on a record. Also looking to get back in the win column after a loss at the hands of Irene Aldana back in July. She's 4-3 in the UFC. Mark, give us your take and your pick of Santos versus Holm.
So Holly Holm is minus 240 in this one as the favorite. Yana is plus 200. They are the same size, so nothing to discuss there. Yana Kunitskaya is now Yana Santos, so we'll see if the name change can give her any extra power like it did for Veronica Hardy on Saturday. But seriously, I don't think Yana is on the same level as Holly. Like, she's good, don't get me wrong, but I just think she's one notch below what Holly Holm is. And I think if Holm did lose this fight, it would be time to maybe consider that the career was getting away from her a bit. But I kind of just feel like Yana is a lesser Holly Holm. Like, she likes to clinch and hold you on the cage. I think Holm is better at it. She likes to strike in the clinch. I think Holm is better at it. She likes to strike at range. I think Holm is better at it. I think Holly takes damage better. I think her takedown defense is better. So I just think she's better at all the things that Yana is good at. So not a lot to break down for me in this one. I think it's a Holly UD.
Omar, give us your take and your pick. Holm versus Santos.
Yeah, personally, I've never been a huge Yana Santos fan, even when she was Yana Kunitskaya. Her performances have never been standout for me. I think she's maybe had 1 or 2 good performances that I could remember. I think Ketlin Vieira might have been the one that I can really think of that was kind of a standout for me. But she's not very consistent. And when she loses bad.
Yeah.
Holly Holm has a lot more, although she's also had her wins and her losses, still, in my opinion, fights at a championship quality. And like Mark said, I just don't think Yana Santos is at that point. Should also point out that Yana Santos had a child. She was pregnant or tested positive for being pregnant right after the Irene Aldana fight, to the point where people thought that she was fighting pregnant. So there is that to keep in mind, because she wasn't very pregnant in August when it was announced, and she fought in July. So I'm going to assume she probably had that baby sometime in the middle of 2022. And then here we are in the kind of the middle of 2023, and she's back at it. So it'll be interesting to see how she comes back. Maybe she comes back better. We all know that, sometimes those things are good motivation. She could have also lost a step in trying to regain everything that she had before. So we'll see. In my opinion, though, I think Holly Holm is just the better fighter overall. I would go with Holly Holm by unanimous decision.
I agree with everything that's been said, and I think that Holly Holm's superior stand-up skills are going to shine through. I see Holly Holm catching Yana Santos in the third round with a head kick, stunning her, and I'm going to say Holly Holm gets a TKO in the third round. Because when Yana Santos loses, she loses bad, just like Omar said. Her last 3 losses, which have been a little bit spread out, have all been by TKO, by Aldana, Aspen Ladd, and Chris Cyborg. Okay, main event time. Here we go. Bantamweight bout of serious consequence. Marlon Chito Vera taking on Corey the Sandman Sandhagen. So Chito Vera, the 30-year-old out of Ecuador, his record stands at 20-7 as a pro, 14-6 in the UFC. His first fight in the UFC was back in 2014. He's been in the UFC for a minute. Of his 20 wins, 8 have come by knockout. 8 more have come by submission. Most recently, he's on a 4-fight win streak, finishing Dominic Cruz by head kick back in August. Corey Sandhagen, the Sandman, the 30-year-old out of Colorado, 15-4 as a pro, 8-3 in the UFC. Of his 15 wins, 7 have come by knockout, 10 finishes overall. Most recently, coming off of a nice win over Yadong Song back in September. A nice TKO victory. Omar, start us off here. Give us your take and ultimately your pick.
I was really hoping it was Omar first. I don't know what the fuck to do.
Give us your take and
your
pick. Start us
I'm
off.
sure they want me to go first, because your boy is not going against Chito Vera. Fuck all of that noise. Okay? I get it. It's Corey Sandhagen. 95% of the time, I'd rather be picking Corey Sandhagen. Shit doesn't happen when Marlon Chito Vera is on the card. So, Chito's on a run, man. He seems to be really dialed in. We can have these conversations about how those first few Dominic Cruz rounds went and kind of what was going on with Chito winning or losing that fight and all that stuff. But the reality was, man, he was very patient. He was very measured. He could have definitely lost that fight waiting to pull the trigger, waiting to find that one shot. But the reality is he found it. He found it against Dominic Cruz. He found it against Frankie Edgar. He can definitely find it against Corey Sandhagen. And if he can't find it against Corey Sandhagen, he can still very much win a decision like he did against Rob Font and like he did against David Grant. So Chito Vera is a real fighter. That man does not quit. That man comes forward. That man is not worried about getting hurt. And the man hits with a lot of power, and his strikes and his abilities are getting more dynamic each time he shows up. I expect another increase in Chito Vera's abilities. I just think he's just coming into his own and is just becoming such a great fighter. I'm going to go with Marlon Vera by unanimous decision, but I recommend not blinking because somebody's liable to get knocked the fuck out.
Mark, what are the odds of this fight? Is this a pick'em? I bet it's a pick'em.
You want to guess who's favored?
I'm going to guess Cheeto's favorite.
Cheeto's got to be
Cheetos has a 4-fight win
Cheetos-
streak. He's got to be favored.
But it's got to be like maybe like 135, minus 135, and Sandhagen maybe plus 110 maybe.
Cheeto plus 140 underdog. Corey
Wow.
minus 170.
What? Why?
Yeah.
Oh wait,
Yeah.
no,
This is just a
backwards.
rankings
No.
thing?
Yeah,
Is it
opposite of what you
Sandhagen's-
said.
So Sandhagen's above in the rankings. That's why.
No. What do rankings have to do with it?
I'm guessing. Is he? I'm
Oh,
trying
no,
to figure
Andrea's
out
ranked
why.
ahead of Sandhagen anyway.
Why is the guy with the 4-fight win streak having just crushed his last opponent with a head kick, the underdog in this fight?
Like I said, they might be taking into consideration the fact that he lost the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, it's about the matchup, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't know who'd be favored. I thought it would be much. I didn't think anyone would be minus 170. I think that's crazy. I think it's basically a pick 'em. So yeah, at this point, my money would go on Vera with those odds. But Corey is 3 inches taller. The reach actually favors Cheeto by half an inch. Yeah, I don't know what to do. It is not easy to pick a Marlon Vera fight. Will he be losing early and just keep losing? Or will he be losing and then turn the fight on its head as the fight goes on? I don't know. It's very hard to pick fights for a guy that fights the way he does. I've made the point on here before that his style concerns me more and more as he's standing across from more and more elite guys. Because if he's going to come in and analyze for 10 minutes and drop 2 rounds, then he has to either win all 3 that are left, which is not easy against guys this good, or get a finish, which is not easy against guys this good. So it's tricky. And Corey, honestly, is kind of like Dominic Cruz, but better and with more danger. And Dom was winning every round of that fight against Vera. So Corey's absolutely capable of replicating that type of performance. I think he'll be moving well in there. He'll be chopping the leg. He's so diverse with the striking. And now, as of his last fight, we see him showing off a wrestling game as well to mix things up, which was a big factor against Yadong to get him thinking. And maybe what's most important in fighting Cheeto is that Corey has great footwork, great head movement, and a great chin. He's not easy to find for like a big shot. So there are a lot of reasons why I am tempted to pick Corey. I do think the fan in me is coming into play in this one, which I try very hard to not do. But I want to believe that Marlon's coaches have got it through to him that he needs to step up the activity and the aggression early, especially in a matchup like this one. Because, again, I think the Marlon that fought Dominic Cruz loses this fight. You know, if he comes out analyzing and lets Corey build a lead early, I don't think it's going to shift back far enough because I don't think he's going to put Corey out. If he does, I'll be really impressed. But I'm going to choose to believe, and again, maybe it's as a fan, I'm going to choose to believe that we see a leveled up Cheeto who can get this done, who comes out understanding he's got to throw more. I think his ability to analyze and to find chinks in the armor and to find openings in guys' movement as the fight goes on is really starting to feel like it's special. He hurt Rob Font multiple times. He's extremely precise with his shots. There's big power behind them. And if he can mix that type of, you know, big shot opening style with actual activity early, I think he can win enough of these rounds. Again, I don't think he'll actually put Corey out. But I want to believe he can do enough. I'm literally 51-49 on picking this fight. Earlier in the day, I thought I was going to go Corey. But I'm going to go Cheeto 48-47.
Yeah, the thing that gave me the most pause is thinking about the movement of Dominic Cruz and how Cheeto wasn't really winning that fight up until the moment that he won it. And how, I think, Mark, you said it as I was literally having the thought that Corey Sandhagen is kind of like Dominic Cruz, but bigger. And at this point in his career, with more firepower. So for that reason, I am going to go with Corey Sandhagen here. I think at featherweight, it cannot be ignored. Excuse me, this is a featherweight fight. No, bantamweight fight. At 5'11", his size is gigantic for the weight class. And you know, I don't think his head is going to be there for that head kick that he landed on Cruz. So yeah, I see Corey Sandhagen running away with it on the scorecards. I'll take Sandhagen by decision. I'll say unanimous decision.
Yeah, I'm afraid that might be the smart pick.
Close fight. Well, I thought I was making the smart pick last weekend during the main event, and I was fucking wrong.
I'm going with the heart here. Yeah, it's a tough one, man. It's a real tough one. I could see it going a lot of different ways.
I mean, I do not hate on Corey Sandhagen one bit, but I love me some Chidi Vera as much as anybody. I mean, he is kind of like one of the darlings and a fan favorite of the promotion, and for good reason.
You could argue that this is like one of the toughest matchups there is for Chidi in this division.
Because 100%.
You put him against like an Aljo, if he can stuff the takedowns, like he's probably going to hurt Aljo standing. If you put him across from like an O'Malley, you'd like to think he can, you know, the aggression he fights with could maybe break through how clean O'Malley is, like, or he could even try to take him down, you know, like different things. This fight, it's kind of like, I'm not exactly sure what the avenue is to beat Corey.
Yeah. Well, we've done it. There you have it. And this time I recorded our picks as we went along. So we'll keep track.
Boom.
All right. In the interest of time, because it is 5 a.m. It's not actually 5 a.m., but it feels like it. Let's end with a little bit of trivia and then go to bed. Here we go. Chidi Vera currently has 5 Performance of the Night bonuses, tied at 5th all-time with a handful of other UFC greats. For reference, Charles do Bronx Oliveira still all the way at the top, all by himself with 12 Performance of the Night bonuses.
Balls.
There is a 3-way tie for second place with 7 Performance of the Night bonuses. A 3-way tie between Donald Cowboy Cerrone, the notorious Conor McGregor, and what UFC heavyweight? Is it A, Ovens St. Preux, B, Tai Tuivasa, C, Andre Arlovsky, or D, Derek Lewis? So once again, this UFC heavyweight is tied with Donald Cerrone and Conor McGregor, tied for second place all time for Performance of the Night bonuses with 7.
Who was C?
Arlovsky.
I feel like it's Derek Lewis. That was my thought before he even said it.
That's what I'm going to say.
Derek Lewis, the knockout king.
Yeah.
Oh, and Omar, same. That was my thought as soon as he said which heavyweight before I heard the trade.
Yeah.
Before I even said the options, you thought it was Derek?
Yeah.
Derek Lewis. So that's it? That's your pick?
Yeah.
That's it.
The answer is A, Ovens St. Preux.
What? How many?
7 Performance of the Night bonuses.
Like, I know he got, like, the 3 for his Von Flue chokes. Because he gets one every time he gets a Von Flue choke. But what the hell else is he getting Performance of the Night for?
I don't know. Hey, I don't make the fucking rules.
First of all, he's a light heavyweight anyway.
Oh, that's true.
Well, he
Hasn't he fought
dibbles and he dabbles.
He took 2 heavyweight fights in his whole career.
Oh, really? It felt like more.
Nah.
They did feel like more.
Rothwell and Boser, that was it. What?
Well, I have
Did he...
I have a trivia question.
Man,
as well.
jeez,
Isn't that crazy?
Absolutely wild.
Yeah, that's a lot of performance bonuses. All right. There have been 3 undisputed UFC champions that have lost their title via clean knockout and come back to win their title against the same opponent.
Immediate?
Kamaru. What do you mean? Immediate rematch?
Yeah. Or just
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Kamaru Usman is aiming to be that guy, the number 4 guy, or was aiming to be that guy, or the number 4 guy this past weekend. He is not. There is still only 3. Name those 3 fighters.
Oh, all 3?
I mean, I know one immediately.
Yeah, me too. Who's the one that you know?
Huh?
You want us to wait? You want us to go one by one?
Are we
Go
allowed to
one by one.
combine?
Let your powers combine. Go for it.
So the one that came to mind right away for me is GSP.
GSP. Thank you.
Okay. So now we gotta think.
Who's
It's a free bingo card.
So
I will
Lawson-
give you one. Should I give you guys a clue?
Not
No,
yet.
hold
Not
on,
yet.
hold
Not
on.
yet.
Okay.
So wait, but the criteria is lost
Let
their
him
title
cook.
by knockout and then came back and won it back.
Mm-hmm.
Lost the title by knockout and then won it in a rematch.
Right, from the
Stipe.
same guy.
Stipe.
Yep. Well done.
Stipe is number 2.
Very
There's
well done.
one more.
I hadn't gotten up to heavyweight yet in my head. I was running through all the divisions.
Is this one the tricky one? Is this
Shit,
the tricky
but-
one?
Now I just got to
To be
heavyweight,
honest, not really.
and there was no one in the other divisions. Is it another heavyweight?
This is one of those ones that when you hear the answers, you're like, oh yeah, that's right.
Oh, Kane?
Kane! Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just about to say. Yeah.
That's it. Cain Velasquez. So for those of you wondering, GSP lost his heavyweight. No, lost his welterweight championship belt to the one and only Matt Serra, and then reclaimed that title back from Matt Serra after I think like an extra fight that he took or something like that. Stipe lost his title to DC via knockout, and then handedly won the next fight to regain his championship from there. Cain Velasquez, of course, well known for the knockout that he received from JDS, for JDS winning the heavyweight title from him, and then Cain Velasquez putting the beating of God on him 2 more times after that.
Yeah.
So those are the 3. And
Like it.
Izzy currently is now the new guy looking to hit that number 4 spot
Interesting.
on
True.
April 1st.
True. What a crazy fight that's going to fucking be.
It's not April 1st. When the fuck is that fight? What is happening April 1st? Why do
April
I think something's
8th.
happening April 1st?
April 8th.
Game Bred Boxing is April 1st. I'm
right.
too excited for that event.
I'm trying to think. GSP is the only one who never got to have a shot at the trilogy after redeeming himself.
Oh,
They ended
yeah, I
1-1.
guess that's true. Yeah,
Stipe
yeah.
got the 3rd and won the series, and Kane got the 3rd and won the series.
Yeah. That is interesting. I didn't even think about that part.
Yeah.
All right, it's late. Great show. Thanks for joining us, folks, and enjoyed the fights this weekend.
Word.
Any parting shots, gentlemen?
Do we have nighttime fights this weekend? It's been a lot of weird fight time fights.
It's in Florida, so it should be.
Where is it? Florida?
No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at 87. It's in Texas.
Texas. What do we got? Not the usual. It's 7 p.m. main card.
Wow.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's okay.
All right.
All right, folks. We'll check in next week talking about and breaking down these fights from this fight night card and previewing UFC 287. Let's go.
Let's go indeed.
All right, guys. Talk soon.
Peace.